You want kids?
So I think that if it's in the plan, it will happen.
Welcome, ladies, to Tabletop. And as you already know, this segment, I ask you guys questions and you give me your personal opinions on them.
Yeah.
And before I continue, I want to introduce who you guys are. This is Acushla, as you already know, and this is Davida, a special guest for today.
Very special. Very
Thank you very much.
All right, so today's topic is women who want children and why, versus women who don't want children and why. So before I continue with the questions, I want to find out from both of you, do you guys want kids?
Oh, I want kids. I feel like along the line, it's something I definitely want. But do you want kids?
So I think that if it's in the plan, it will happen. But I think that really the question is, do you want kids naturally, so by birth, or would you be interested in like adopting or fostering or, you know, because in America that's the thing, right? So you don't have to actually give birth to be a mom. So
yeah, but you know, in certain cases, there are some women who don't actually want kids at
right.
all. So let me speak from the narrative of women who don't want kids. I think that would make things more interesting, right? Okay, so let's start with you. Why would you want to be a mother in whatever form, whether it's natural or through adoption or anything?
I think I have a lot to give. So if it like I said, if it happens. So one thing about me, it's not whether I want or don't want. It's if it's in God's plan, right? Because I might want it, and then He says, okay, you can't, you know, give birth naturally. So then, okay, then we got to go through all these different processes, maybe to find a surrogate or to adopt or foster. I don't think I would be interested in fostering simply because it's not permanent. So adoption is permanent. That's what I would be into. But I would want them just to give back to the next generation, right? To pour into, you know, humans that are gonna hopefully go and make the world a better place. Like that's the ultimate goal.
Okay.
So yeah, what about you?
Okay, you know, this particular topic is a bit tricky. I think also it depends on your cultural point of view on certain things. For example, let's pick Korea and Japan. Nowadays, it is a norm for most career women to opt out of marrying or even opt out of having kids because of, let's say, how conservative their culture is. In the sense that in their culture, you are forced to make a decision. Are you going to play the traditional housewife role or are you going to go out and, you know, be the best awesome version of yourself?
Yeah, independent businesswoman.
Yeah, you have to make that decision in places like that. And even in certain instances where you can, you know, have it all, it largely depends on your family and the support that you have. If I were to speak from my perspective, let's say as a young Ghanaian woman, I think that the first thing I've noticed is that among the young people now, we become largely desensitized towards issues that we should have very provoking thoughts against. We have young men that are very, very emotional, immature, and have very, I don't know how to say this, do not see women as independent people, more as an extension of themselves through maybe marriage or through relationship. And as a result of that, perhaps you treat them as such. And in instances of sexual assault and stuff, when you hear it's very shocking. But
the numbers.
Yeah, the numbers and how prevalent these issues are. So I think if you're considering bringing a child into this kind of environment, you have to be prepared for the actual reality of raising that child and, you know, determine whether you or not, whether you have the facilities to be able to raise the child in that environment. You know, even with America, shifting focus to your country, personally, I think US as a media, economic, trade powerhouse, you've done phenomenally well. But with regards to the safety of the people, specifically people of color in America, I'm not very convinced. And in fact, for me, the US is a place I wouldn't want to live there. I would want to visit, definitely, you know, a few times a year and come back home and stay Nobody will kill me in the street. So
I hear you.
I feel like it's a big issue. Like if you're an American woman who decides to have a kid in
a brown
America,
kid,
these are issues that you have to fundamentally consider and see how you will play in that.
Yeah, and that's real. And when you think about bringing brown children into the world, into the American world, that is, something you have to think about. Even like the discussions you would have with the child, whether it be a boy or a girl, about how to interact with police, how to, do this and that, and what school they'll attend. Do you want to send them abroad for foreign education, or in the American education system, as far as like up to high school, I feel like, just with my experience with teaching abroad and just, even teaching in the American school system, sometimes I feel like we kind of lag behind, and that's a thing, right? Because you want to produce a child that's, going to contribute to the world. And the only way to do that if the child is successful, right? So they have to learn, and it starts at home, but also, so if you decide to homeschool, but then if you decide to put them in a school system, which one? Private, or like I said, international, whatever. So yeah, all that you got to take into account. And so that's why I'm not in any rush. Okay? It's like, can I just get some money? I also don't want to have children and be broke.
Yeah,
because children are expensive.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about buying, Fendi, little baby Fendi shoes. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just being able to expose my children to what I feel like is a level of experience that's even more than what I had growing up, right? So, because I didn't have Fendi shoes, and I don't even feel like, children need little baby Fendi shoes, but definitely, they need shoes, right? So, that's a whole thing. So, yeah.
Okay, so I have another question based on this. We've spoken about having kids, right? I mean, usually when you think about having kids, it comes with a partner as well. So what is your thought with regards to relationships? Is this monogamous, polyamorous, polygamous?
And that's another thing. I'm definitely not about raising children singularly. And I mean, whatever that, so I know, well, I guess I could say across the world, right? You have single parents in every country, in every culture, or whatever, depending on how the parent became single, right? So you have people that decide, like I met a young lady, we were in like a Facebook group, and my goal was to visit like all the states. And so I was visiting this state, we were in this Facebook group, I told her I was in town, she was like, let's get together and have dinner. And so we were just talking and everything, and she was telling me about her career, and I was like, go girl, da-da-da, and she said she had a son, and we started talking about motherhood. She asked me if I had children and everything, and I was like, no, I'm just trying to explore the world and eat. And so she was like, yeah, I just decided that I was just gonna, go for it. And I was like, what does that mean? Like, just go for it, how? And she, said that she literally went to like a sperm bank and just like, pulled out the book and was like, he cute, he's not cute. Yeah. He seems intelligent. He, his shirt is raggedy, whatever. Like, and she, made this decision based on even like just appearance, right? So she wanted a brown child, and I think she was like Hispanic, but like of Spanish descent. So I mean, but she literally picked who her child's father was going to be. Now, the son doesn't have any connection to, but I think it's really important because if anything, comes to light in like medical history or something, it's like, well, all you have is your side. You don't even know this person that you flipped through this book and chose as your dad's kid. So people go about it different ways, and there are many different ways. But I'm not interested in being a single parent. Like, first of all, I know how I was as a child. Now, I was chill. But you don't know if your child is going to be chill. Yeah, so it's like, no, I need two. That way we can, play a little tennis, just hit the ball or the dad. Okay. All right. So, yeah. And whatever that looks like for two people coming together to bring, I really believe that it takes a village. And, every village looks different. I'm not saying that it just has to be a mother and father. It could be a mother and mother. It could be a mother and grandmother. But I'm not interested in even having the same experience I had where, my mom raised me by herself. She did have the help of her family, but she was by herself.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not trying to do that. But, yeah.
Okay, so another thing I'm curious about, very curious about, why is it that, I mean, I've read stuff about it, but like, then again, it's just articles and stuff that I've read on the internet, but you have the actual experience. Why is it that in America, within the Black demographic, there's a lot of single parent families?
You know what? I would be so inclined to say that it probably stems from, slavery, right? So when you look at how black people came, to America and whatnot, and like the things that occurred during slavery, like taking a father, selling him over here, and then you have the mother and child here, taking the mother, selling her over here, and then you keep the child here. Like it's really, it stems from that, and then it just, the year after year, 100 years after 100 years, just kind of like kept going. And so once you pull the family apart, and I think Willie Lynch, if y'all are into looking up information, researching, if you look up Willie Lynch, he wrote a bunch of letters. It was called the Willie Lynch Letter. And he literally talked about how to keep the black family apart. Now, when you read this, he's talking about slavery, how to break, a black man down, how to break a black woman down, how to split the family apart. That's as pertaining to slavery, but you see those type of traditions still happening in America, right? When it comes to giving assistance to single women, they say you can't have a man living in the house, right? But why? Who is usually on public assistance? Most of the time it's people of color. There are some, I guess, poor white people who are as well, but most of the time the people look like us. So yeah, so I think it stems from back then, and it just has been going ever since.
I see.
Wow, that was a lot.
And now I'm hot.
All right, so the final question. How can societal attitudes and policies better support women's choices on family planning? I mean, considering that the varied reasons for having or not having kids, are there any changes like you like to see?
Wait, say that one more time.
Repeat the question again.
Okay, so I'm saying that how can societal attitudes and policies better support women's choices of family planning?
How can societal attitudes better support family planning?
Yes. Okay. As in, if a lady who wants to have a kid or not, and are there any changes you'd like to see in society currently?
Well, what do y'all have in Ghana? Because I don't even know. Is there any type of family planning support?
Ghana's situation, speaking on it, it's very... I'm trying to see which angle to speak on it from. You know that Ghanaians by nature are conservative, right?
Very
conservative. We're conservative, especially when it comes to our views and opinions about sex and sexual reproduction and family health. That's one thing. And the second thing too is the stigma, let me say, quote unquote, attached to, I mean, it's still there, but it's not as prevalent as before. The stigma attached to, seeking advice or counsel about family health planning systems. Personally, I'm a huge advocate for contraceptives. Huge. I think every woman of the appropriate age should get a kind or a form of contraceptive, especially if you're having frequent sex, whether protected or unprotected. Because for the STI, you know that, okay, if you use condoms and such, you can prevent that. To have a kid, it's a whole thing. So on one front, we're not yet progressive in the thought of having these discussions and making these discussions real.
My question is, because I mean, I know you all don't have free healthcare, right? In Ghana, so
we have Ghana card. Sorry, sorry.
What does that pay for malaria? It doesn't do anything.
So what do women do then? If you want like a morning after pill, if you want to be on birth control, you have to pay.
Yeah. So there's this NGO, Mary Stopes.
Okay.
So they offer counseling services. Like if you have any question about related to
questions, but not free.
No, it's subsidized.
Okay.
As compared to how much it would
really cost.
Because I remember when I got my implants, I thought it would be expensive. It was just like 90 CDs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was, and on top of that, too, the staff there is really, really really chill, really nice, really woman friendly.
Okay.
But in this country, we don't have so many centers like that. If you have a situation where there's an encounter, let's say there's a sexual assault encounter, and you go to the police and you talk to the police about this encounter, our police is not trained to deal with, situations like that. And also on top of that, talking about female empowerment and as such and such. I would say that in Ghana, progressively, when it comes to business and entrepreneurship, women have always been on the forefront. Always been. That one is since before colonization. Yes, but we don't really see that level of development in other fields, largely because a lot of girls are not really, really encouraged to do that. You're encouraged to pursue probably professional professions and stuff, but it's catered around what is seen as more womanly, what is seen as more appropriate, more befitting for a woman.
So I almost feel like there needs to be a conversation about coming to time. So this is what I was just thinking about this, having a conversation with somebody else, and I didn't say this at the time, but like kids are gonna have sex. It don't matter the culture, don't matter the religion, don't matter where you live, who you are. It's gonna happen, right? So the best thing to do, I feel like, if you know something is going to probably happen, is to prepare, right? And so you want teenagers, children, whatever, to have information. More than likely, they're probably not going to go to an adult and have a conversation about it, because who's going to do that, right? And you don't even want adults to know that you're thinking of this, right? And then also open the conversation, because as you said, Ghana is conservative, to have, I don't know if I was talking to a friend, and I don't know if they were Muslim or not, but they said that like they couldn't even go to their dad and say that a guy approached them. Like if a guy says, "Oh, hey, can I get your number? I want to take you to the movies."
No, African parents.
Like you can't tell your mom and dad or your dad that this guy asked you to the movies. And it's like, well, first of all, in the family dynamic, we need to start having a conversation, because
it needs to be very real.
You got to open up, dads, and have a talk, because you're the first man that I am engaging with and things like that. So not only do I see how you treat my mother and I see how you treat me, but you're supposed to be teaching me how I'm supposed to be treated. So is that the way I'm supposed to be called? Like, is that acceptable? You know what I'm saying? And if a guy wants to take me to the movies, how is that encounter supposed to happen? Maybe at 14, you don't want me to go to the movies along with a guy, and that's okay. Parents have, rules and things like that you have to adhere to. But let's just have the conversation, because at some point I'm going to be 19. At some point I'm going to go to college. And if we've never had that talk, then the first guy who's at me once I get to university, more than likely, if he dark skinned and a little tall, I'm probably going to be, hey, you know what I mean? But if my dad or my uncle or my boy cousin, whomever, even my mom, has had a conversation, hey, look, this virginity is sacred. You don't want to just get at to anybody. That's the type of not don't have sex. That's not going to get it. That's not enough. As a matter of fact, if you tell me don't eat wache every day, I'm going to probably try to do it. If you tell me don't eat candy for breakfast, I'm probably going to try to do it. If you tell me, you understand what I'm saying? I do, that's a kid thing. They're not developed. So you want to change the conversation around don't do this to here's the information. If you do this, you can become pregnant, right? It only takes one time, one pump. You can't, you can catch a STI or STD. It only takes one time, one pump. You can use protection. However, these are all the stipulations around the different protections that are out there. You can be on birth control, but these are the things that birth control can do to your body long term. That's the conversation that needs to be had.
But
not
we
just
haven't
don't
reached there.
No,
we haven't. Because I remember our school, and when we were
sex ed.
Kinda.
Oh man.
So the first one, when I was in middle school, we had a lady came to school and she taught us how to use the pads.
Oh, okay.
Sex.
And oh, you mean menstrual pads?
Yeah, menstrual pads.
And like tampons.
I think they even introduced that cup, the Diva cup.
I heard
at that time, but it wasn't popular. I don't know if it's popular now, but at that time it really wasn't. And do you remember this? Or you don't remember this?
Nope.
when we were in high school, we also had another one. They separated the girls
I
from
think I
the
did.
boys. You remember? Yes.
Oh, because they don't do that in the States, so do go into detail, please.
Yes,
please, tell
I
me
remember
more.
all the boys were in the so our dining hall is two, it's upstairs and downstairs. So all the boys were upstairs and all the girls were downstairs. And then we had one of our teachers and the school nurse and a sexual health professional. And they came and they talked to us about sex and the dangers of sex and how sex is a terrible thing. And if you have sex, you're going to get pregnant. And if you get pregnant, you're instantly,
They just breathe on you. You're pregnant.
And when you get pregnant, you can't write WASI. If you don't write WASI, you can't go to uni.
You can't write what?
WASI. WASI is like SAT for us.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
You can't write WASI. If you can't write WASI, you can't go to uni. If you can't go to uni, you can't have the whole uni experience.
Yeah.
And you'll be an incomplete person. Basically, that was the agenda they were pushing.
If you get pregnant, you're incomplete. Thank you for that. Thank you.
So, from that experience, I'm a very curious person. So
that's not how it was in the States, by the way. You just want to put that up. First of all, they never split us up.
You can tell us how it was after. I think it was very interesting. So I remember my initial sentiments after this sex ed talk was that sex is a horrible thing. Boys are bad. Stay away from boys. Keep doing sports. Always read.
Come on, sports. Always read.
Yeah.
Reading and sports.
But the thing is, you see, when you're young and you're discovering yourself, you always have these feelings. And it's
hormones.
And it's good to talk about them. I'm going to share a very personal experience, not because it's because I feel like is related to this conversation. So I remember when I first discovered masturbation. It was in a book I was reading.
Oh.
And
so you didn't discuss, but the book. Okay, got it.
But the book introduced it to me, and in the book it was nipple play. I was like, "Hey, Charlie, what is this? I have nipples too."
Yeah. Awesome.
So I remember going back to the dorm. It was a boarding school. You don't really have the privacy to do all of those things. So I'll just be thinking about it and just be, so it was just in my head. That's all I was thinking about, like in class, and it's all you're thinking about. And I didn't realize that it was making me very horny at the time,
right?
Because that's all I was thinking about. So I remember going to like it was long back, the summer vacation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I went home. And when I went home, I found another book. One of Danielle.
She said reading and sports, ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead.
Danielle Steele. One of Danielle Steele's book, and they were talking about like sex between the male and the female protagonist. And then I read the foreplay to that, and I was like, okay, we can do this. Yeah, we can do this.
We can try it.
Yeah, so I remember that day when everybody left. And I followed the instructions, and that was the first time like I masturbated, and I came and I was like, oh, they were lying to us.
Oh wow.
They were lying. How? So
Ghana school systems, are you watching here?
So I got so obsessed or carried away with masturbation. So that vacation, that was the only thing I was doing. But
no more reading.
No more reading. Yeah. So. I mean, thinking back on that, I think that if I had someone, like, let's just have, because I had a lot of questions, let's just have a conversation about it. Like, let's just talk about what does it mean, these feelings I'm having, what is that?
What are the parts? What
I'm doing, is it right? If I do it too much, what happens? Should I stop?
Is there a level to that? Absolutely.
Yeah, but I didn't have that, and I can imagine that there are so many people who also reach this stage, and they're so overwhelmed with these hormones and feelings and questions and desires, and you don't know what to do with them, because in a typical African family, you can't go and talk to your mom about this. Yeah, she'll tell you that you're a bad girl, and why are you talking about this, and your father will look at you like, don't you have some books to read?
Yeah. So some sports to play.
Yeah. So that was my experience.
And it's sad, because I mean, and this is, I say, like African Americans or black people, wherever, because you look at Caribbean parents, it's all the same. You talk to Hispanic children who grew up in like a typical Mexican family household, African, it's all the same. Don't nobody want to discuss sex. Don't nobody want to discuss body parts and things. And it's just like, so we just supposed to find this out, in a book somewhere playing around? Like, no. And so, the cultures kind of correlate when it comes to that. Because I think when I had, I was now raised by a single mom. So you would think that, there would be some conversation. So there's no dad in the house anyway. And my mom had me at around 36. So she was older. I'm her only, you know what I mean? So, of course, you're going to talk to me about my cycle, right? Because, that just makes sense. She did not. But also her mom didn't talk to her about, now, granted, she had, older sister and she had younger sisters and, but it's not like she had aunts and girl cousins that she was close with like I did. And thankfully I had aunts, right? I had her sisters. But, that's who talked to me about it. And it's like, but why? You know what I mean? Like, you should have been preparing me, like, out the womb, 5 years old. Because I think I started my cycle at, like, 10. And it's like, what? Hello? Like, I'm dying here. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know what it is. And from being a child who does read, right? So, say you are reading something and it's talking about, blood. Usually, if blood is associated, it's because you're hurt, right? So, if I'm bleeding from my private parts, that I'm hurt and now I'm dying, and you just go to like the next level of crazy. I'm dying, like they're not gonna be able to save me. I'm losing, so because it is a lot, right, of blood that comes. And so you're like, now, like at 10 years old, my life is over, and you're just dramatic about it. So I think it's sad that like our, Black, Hispanic, whomever, brown people, parents and guardians and family members don't have these conversations, because that's why you have teen pregnancies, right? If the first person to tell me about my body is the tall, dark-skinned guy, then that's who I'm going to listen to, right? Because y'all didn't tell me. So is that my fault? And of course, I'm underdeveloped in the sense that I'm 14. So, and maybe he's 16, maybe he's 14. And maybe he doesn't really know, probably, but maybe his older brother, who was 21, was having a conversation with him instead of his mom and dad having the conversation with, you know what I mean? And so it just continues this, cycle of everybody just trying to figure it out. When it's like, just sit down and have a conversation. And when you talk about parenting, that's another thing. It's like, you almost have to be ready for these type of conversations. So am I ready to have, whether it be a son or a daughter, and discuss periods? Well, yeah, I have periods, that's cool. But am I ready to discuss periods with my son? Because I also want my son to know. It's not just a girl's virginity that's sacred. It's also yours. You know what I mean? The power of no. The asking for permission. These are the conversations. And I feel like even in like some African cultures, I don't even feel like the power of no is a thing, or like asking for permission is a thing, or like women feel like their like that their pleasure is a thing, like that it's important because society has taught you that like you're there to please the guy, or that you're taking this role as a subordinate or the dependent or whatever. And so it just keeps going. It just keeps going unless somebody stops it. So
before you say what you want to say, or do you still want to say it?
Yes, I will, but what do you want to say?
Okay, so I wanted you guys to give me a policy. You guys sort of, should I say, drifted a bit, but still still inside. Like, you guys have made some points well known, and like I feel like I want to highlight on that. Okay, so I wanted to find out like policies that will help like women who want kids, and women who don't want kids. Okay, but you guys have exposed us with a different, but that's fine. Let's bring it back. That's fine. No, that's fine. And I realized that you guys have brought a very solid point. As there should be more sex ed talks in our schools.
Well, but that goes into who wants, because if I don't know my own body, how can I then it can happen, but it would be a very scary experience for nobody to tell you at 13 years old, and whether you're molested, raped, or you have consensually, because you don't even know what you're giving away at 13. You don't know what you're doing at 13. So now I have done this act. It has caused me to be pregnant. And I don't know the first thing about a vagina. Okay? I don't know the first thing about, I only been having my cycle for a year. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is, if as far as women not wanting children and wanting children and why they would not, No, I don't want no children at 13 years old. Yeah. I don't even know. I'm 13. I haven't even really been a kid yet. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, and if you have done that at 13, it probably will skew your view moving forward, because now you are, maybe 14, right? Have had a baby. Now, what happens in 10 years when you're 24 and this kid is 10? You know what I'm saying? Are you ready to have the conversation with your 10-year-old about children and birth control and all these things? Okay, what happens at 34? Will your view of marriage now, because you done raised this kid for 20 years, y'all done pretty much grew up together. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I feel like it does kind of tie in. I know we're bringing it back, but yeah, I feel like the views could be skewed depending on what your experience is with sex education and things like that.
So I'll answer that question, but I have one other question. You know how okay, let me use in Ghana, because in Ghana, when you hear most cases, like molestation cases, sex cases, mm-hmm. There's always a girl, that maybe an uncle, a houseboy. But a lot of the times we forget that the boys or the young boys, young children are largely affected. And what I've come to realize is that, at least the from my observation, the people or the young men who had, intimate interactions with older women when they were younger, mm-hmm. For them, they have seen it as like
a notch on their belt, come up, a positive thing.
Yes, a positive mm-hmm. thing that happened. They have failed to acknowledge the fact that that particular act that took place was molestation. Mm-hmm. It was rape. It mm-hmm. was assault. Because mm-hmm. in our country, how can a man be raped? How? Mm-hmm. Yeah. How can a man be assaulted? How? Mm-hmm. But we forget that little boys can be. And I'm not talking about sodomy. I'm talking about wicked women mm-hmm. taking advantage of young boys. And the reality of the situation is that we have a whole demographic, we have a whole generation of young boys that have been abused, assaulted mm-hmm. by older women, and they've carried this trauma into their relationships, their adult, and it's manifesting in like different ways. It's manifesting through possession, it's manifesting through being controlling, it's manifesting through anger, it's manifesting through finding different ways to exert a certain amount of control on the person that you claim is your partner. So it's a big thing now, because you find a lot of relationships with this dynamic where it's like, just because the guy is paying for this, okay, so it means that he can do this. It's like in that relationship, you as a woman have no autonomy mm-hmm. because you have more or less surrendered that autonomy unwillingly. You didn't even realize that was happening.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Maybe sometime now. Sometimes, I want somebody to pay for something. So it depends on the circumstance. Yeah, but I get what you're saying. For sure. And it's, but so then having that conversation of somebody not having a conversation with little boys. See, when children are children, no matter if you're a girl or a boy. But then they grow up to be men and women. And so, little boys can definitely be affected just like little girls can. It just shows up usually a different way. So, and I mean, and one of the things that, I used to think about, probably, this is so that I would say late. So I graduated senior high at like 17. So that's when I started uni. So I graduated uni at like 21. So so I was not, kids for what, honey? Kids cost money. I'm not trying to do none of that. I'm trying to eat, live life, travel, and turn up, okay? However that looks like. But one of the things that when I would have discussions with other women, other guys, whatever, about wanting to be, a parent, wanting to be a mom or whatever, the biggest thing for me that was mind blowing is just the pregnancy itself, and it's because disproportionately Black women die giving child. So I'm speaking about America now, because obviously in Ghana, everybody is a Ghanaian one. Maybe you got a couple, Asians having babies here, but Black. So whatever the statistic is, it's not gonna be higher than something else because everybody is the same. And so if y'all were having difficult childbirths or dying during childbirth, it would just be a thing that Ghana would have to take control of as a country. But in America, it's very different because you have all these demographics of people. And so when you look at black women, they die during childbirth, after childbirth, and sometimes maybe even before. Those numbers, I'm sure, are quite less, but compared to their white counterparts. Now, why is that? So for me, the biggest thing was like, so you telling me I could do this whole birth thing and then just not even be here to see it through? That's kind of wild, and then are you saying that like the healthcare professionals are not going to do their job the best way because I'm black and this person is not black? Like, that's also wild. And so for me, it was just a thing of like giving birth. Mm-hmm. So I always said like I would adopt, or if I was dating someone or married someone who already had children, then maybe he would let me slide on through, and just be the cool stepmom or something, you know what I mean? But yeah, so that's for me, one of the reasons why I didn't want to at first, as far as giving actual birth. What I will say is once you kind of grow up, you travel a little bit, you meet some people, and you understand that this could be a different experience depending on where you are. So if I go to Ghana, right, I'm probably, if I'm, having my child there, it's probably going to be, around other black women. They're probably going to know, other healing practices and, I don't know, herbal remedies that, have come from the village and from, long ago, because, women have been giving birth forever, over here. Not that they haven't anywhere else, but I'm saying being around people who look like you, who have your best interests at heart, who want you to have a successful pregnancy, who are not trying to speed up your pregnancy, right? Because there's a such thing as like, we're going to just induce you to have this kid, but it's not time. But we just going to induce you because we got to be out of here by 5. So, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying it doesn't happen here. What I'm saying is it might not happen as much. And so now my view about giving birth has kind of changed because it's like, well, I don't have to have my kid in the States. So, I could go somewhere else where, and have a great pregnancy or a doula or have a home water birth or whatever. So now it's like more options. Yeah. And, you know what I mean? Like once you start exploring that, it changes your perspective. So, yeah.
Okay, so let's answer Abeku's question about the...
What?
The policies. I just wanted the policies.
Oh, the policies.
Yeah.
Look,
yes,
bring us back, huh? Just raise your hand.
So,
like in church.
What I wanted to find out was, is there any policy or can you recommend something that will help women who want kids, like to better help them, and also those who don't want kids?
I would say sex education, but see, it wouldn't have, and you can name it whatever you want, but just education, right? How does my body work? How my body works as it relates to giving birth, how my body works as it relates to having sex, how my body works as it relates to masturbation, how my body works as it relates to having a breast exam or, having a pap smear, like all these, just how my body works would be the best thing. And then the conversation of, okay, we're going to discuss birth control. Here are all the 10 options. I don't know what are, the patch, the pill, the implant. Okay, so these are the options. Now let's discuss what the research says for the pill. If you're over a certain weight limit, not weight limit, if you're over a certain weight, maybe the pill is not the right thing for you. And this is why, here's the research to support that. Also, here's the research of long-term being on the pill, what it does to your body once you get off of it. You might have trouble getting pregnant. Okay, this is the patch. This is what, you need to know about this. This is the implant. This is what you should know if it so happens to get into your bloodstream. What happens? You know what I mean? Like, what is the surgical implicate? Like, just what all of those things look like and what they mean. So I think it's not only having a conversation, but just having someone who knows these things. So you said you all had a nurse come, and a sex
professional, I suppose.
Okay, yeah. So that would be the person, right? So either start a program at I would even say junior high, because by senior high, these people is getting it in. Y'all is late to the party if you wait to senior high school. Matter of fact, go into the elementary schools and discuss good touch, bad touch. They used to do like a thing like that. So having a conversation about saying no, having a conversation about going to an adult that you trust, that to say like, this person touched me here, you know what I'm saying? Because by the time they get to junior high, maybe they've already been molested. And maybe if you had the conversation in elementary school, I'm not saying they'll prevent it, because a child is a child and an adult is an adult, so they could say no and scream bad touch all they want. If an adult wants to take advantage, they will. But at least the kid will then say, okay, you know, I know this was bad. Maybe, you know, I should go to somebody. But if you don't know, you don't know. And you don't know what you don't know till you know that, oh, I didn't know this. So
it's true.
I just think you need to start having the conversation about sex, about bodies, even, you know, guys, what does masturbation for me look like. So, you know, just having that conversation very early. You know, elementary school age, whatever that age is in that range. So, yeah.
I think in addition to what you said, I think one thing that I would really advocate for is that, okay, over here in Ghana, the kids, depending on the type of family that you come from, I guess your hobbies or your interests would be related to that. Most Ghanaian parents, you know, would focus more on academia, math, science, than whatever else the
law, business.
Yeah, you know, so even if they do develop habits, it's centered around math, science, reading, you know. It's not outside that. So because of that, you find that the kids grow up with a very limited span of interest. For example, if you pick
or social ability.
Yes, if you pick, like, let's say a regular American high school student who goes to like public school and stuff, and compare them to a regular Ghanaian student who goes to public school and the regular Ghanaian system, the difference between the two of them is astronomical, especially with how they speak, the eloquence and the maturity of their speech. You can tell, and the confidence, you can tell. So I guess the first proposal I would say would be to introduce a system that encourages all children of all ages, of all genders, to develop all kinds of hobbies, painting and whatever.
Art. And
parents.
And you all don't have like art and
there are some institutions that provide, but they're private and they're expensive. Yes.
So you don't have that in public.
Exactly.
See, in our public school,
Exactly.
Gosh, that's sad.
That is sad. So that's the one thing. And then the second thing is the increase of the maternity leave. I think ideally a year or even 18 months.
What is your maternity leave now?
3 months.
I don't even know what it is in America, but I think it is more than 3 months.
Okay.
I think. And then depending on what kind of job you have. So see, with America, it's not, I think federally, there's an amount that you can take through the Family Leave Act. But then I think, like if you work for Amazon, well, whoever Amazon CEO is and board of directors, they can say, well, we just going to give all women 2 years. Because that's, you know, my mom had, you know, like whatever they decide. If you work for, you know, I don't know, a different company that says, okay, we're going to give, you know, 6 months. I think Serena Williams and her husband, he stepped down from but he made a point to discuss like his experience with her. And he said, this is something we have to implement at our company simply because he became a dad, right? And he saw how that experience affected, you know, his wife, Serena. And then also him being a new dad, it's like, I don't get dad leave. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like the mom gets maternity. I don't get no fraternity leave. Like, how does that work? You know, so, but it took him saying that, you know, for his company. So, yes, that's interesting though. So 3 months and then, yes, public school. Y'all don't have,
I think those two things would make a huge
And so they just do soccer, football?
If you're a boy, usually it's soccer.
And what other sports do the schools have?
If you went to an IS school,
Public. No,
if you went public school,
Ampe,
yeah.
What's that?
It's like a game.
Demonstrate.
Oh Lord. Okay.
Yeah, but like if you went to an IS school, if you went to an international school, you can do everything: basketball, volleyball. There's exposure, but the average Ghanaian does not have that extent of exposure.
Right, because it costs.
Exactly. So this is what we're pushing for. This is a change that we're hoping
Ghana,
for.
y'all speak like 10 languages. I need y'all to get on that. That's too simple.
All right. So wrapping up. You guys have already said a lot. You've spoken a lot, so there's no need to say any last remarks. But if you still don't have any last remarks, any last comments,
I'm good.
That's good. All right. Thank you very much for gracing our set today. I've learned a lot. Personally, I've learned a lot, and I hope the viewers and everyone as watching this or hearing this has also learned a lot. And I mean, feel free to drop something in the comments. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe.
Yes. Please do that.
Please do that. Yes.
Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.
Thank you for having us.